There is a town on the line between Texas and New Mexico where the wind still works a loose screen door that no hand has opened in a very long time. The town is called Glenrio, and if you stand in the middle of it at dawn, you will see a broken neon sign with half its letters gone, a gas station with no pumps, a cafe with no door, and a straight ribbon of old pavement running out to an empty horizon. There is almost no one left. The buildings are still standing. The signs are still up. But the lights have been off for decades. Glenrio is a ghost town, one of the most perfectly preserved ones in the entire country. And it sits quietly on what used to be the busiest road in America. That road had a number, 66, and the story of how it died, town by town, year by year, is one of the strangest things this country ever did to itself. Because Route 66 was not destroyed by a flood, or a fire, or hard times. It was switched off, on purpose, by people who genuinely thought they were doing us a favor. Let me start at the beginning, because the beginning was, honestly, a kind of miracle. Route 66 came together in 1926. It was not really built brand new. It was stitched together out of roads that already existed, knitted into one continuous path, and given a single number and a single shield. When it was finished, it ran about 2,448 miles, from Chicago down through Missouri and a corner of Kansas, across Oklahoma and the Texas Panhandle, through New Mexico and Arizona, and finally out to the Pacific in California. 8 states, 1 road, 1 set of signs. Think about what that meant to an ordinary family. For the first time, you could point your car southwest and follow one numbered shield all the way from the cold of Lake Michigan to the orange groves of the coast. You did not need to be rich. You did not need a guide. The road itself was the permission, and it earned a nickname almost immediately, the Main Street of America. It even had a champion, an Oklahoma businessman who pushed and fought to link those roads together, and who fought just as hard for that particular number, 66, because he thought it had a good ring to it. History remembers him as the father of the route. And he was right about the number. It did have a good ring to it, and no 2 miles of it were alike. That was part of the magic. You started in a great northern city, and you ended at the ocean. And in between, you crossed prairie and farmland, and the red dirt of Oklahoma, and the high desert, and the painted rock of the Southwest. 1 road, 8 states, and a different country out the window every single morning. But in the 1930s, that road became something heavier than a vacation. It became an escape route. When the Dust Bowl buried the farms of the southern plains under black walls of blowing soil, hundreds of thousands of families loaded up everything they owned, and they drove west, looking for work in California. And the road they drove was Route 66. A writer named John Steinbeck put those families into a novel, The Grapes of Wrath, and in its pages he gave the road its other sadder name. He called it the Mother Road, the road of a whole people in flight. So the highway carried both stories at once, the dream and the disaster, the tourist with money to spend, and the broke farmer with nothing left but a direction. The same pavement held them both, and it never told them apart. Then came the war, and after the war came the Golden Age. And this is the Route 66 that lives in everybody's imagination. America came out of the 1940s with cars and cheap gasoline and paid vacations and a sudden hunger to go and see the country. And Route 66 was how you went to see it. The whole road bloomed into one long ribbon of roadside wonder. Neon motels, some of them shaped like teepees. Trading posts, guarded by concrete dinosaurs. Diners with homemade pie under a glass dome. Gas stations where a man in a clean uniform checked your oil and washed your windshield without being asked. And meant it. A family crossing the country in that era measured the whole trip in these stops. The motel with the swimming pool, the cafe with the good chili, the curio shop where the kids begged for a rubber snake or a polished rock. And here's the thing to really understand. The road was not the boring part between the fun parts. The road was the vacation. Every single mile of it was somebody's small business, lit up in neon, waving you in. The road got into the music too. In 1946, a songwriter put Route 66 into a tune about getting your kicks along the way, and it became a hit, and then a standard recorded again and again for generations. That is how deep this road ran in the American imagination. It was not just pavement, it was a song people knew by heart, and a promise about what was waiting out west. Now let me pause the drive for just 1 second. If you are enjoying riding shotgun with me on this, if this is your kind of story, go ahead and hit that subscribe button before we get to the sad part. And there is a sad part, I will not lie to you. But there is also a hopeful one, right at the end. I will make you a deal. Stick with me to the finish, and I will tell you exactly how to go and find what is left of this road for yourself. So, subscribe. And let's get back on the highway. Because in 1956, a law changed everything. That year, the federal government passed the act that built the interstate highway system, the wide, flat, multi-lane superhighways that we all drive today. Now, I want to be fair about this. The interstates were a real achievement. They were safer, they were faster, they moved goods and people across this country at a speed that nobody had ever managed before. But they were built for one purpose, and one purpose only: to move traffic fast without stopping. No stoplights, no main streets, no little towns to slow you down. The new road was not designed to take you through a place. It was designed to take you around it, and that one design choice was a death sentence with a date attached. It just took a while for everyone to feel it, because here is how it actually worked, mile by mile. The interstate did not replace Route 66 all at once. It was built in stretches, over years. And every time a new stretch of interstate opened up alongside the old road, the traffic simply moved over to the faster lane. The very week that bypass opened, the cars stopped coming through town. Not fewer cars, none. And every cafe, every motel, every gas station in that town had been built on one single thing: drivers pulling off the road. So when the drivers stopped pulling off, the town's whole reason to exist quietly evaporated. That is exactly what happened to Glenrio. The interstate reached it in the middle of the 1970s and swept right on past. The motels emptied that year. They never filled back up. And the same thing happened one after another to hundreds of towns along the route. A trading post in Arizona abandoned to the desert. A whole little community in New Mexico hollowed out from the inside. The interstate would arrive at the edge of town. The traffic would shift over, and within a winter or two, the lights would go out for good. Then, in 1985, it became official. The highway officials sat down, and they voted Route 66 out of existence as a federal highway. The number was retired. The shields came down off the poles. On the maps, the most famous road in America was suddenly no longer a road at all. The Main Street of America had been, in the most literal bureaucratic sense, deleted. Now I want to stop here, because I think it is worth asking honestly what kind of trade this country actually made. We got speed, real speed. A drive that once took weeks can now be done in days. That is not nothing, and I'm not going to stand here and pretend that it is. But look hard at what we handed over for it. The old road took you through the heart of 1,000 towns. It made you slow down and stop and look a stranger in the eye and spend your money in a place run by the family that lived right there. The whole thing was built out of small, particular local places, and every single one of them was different from the last. The interstate gave us none of that, and it was never meant to. Drive a long stretch of interstate today, and the exits are all the same. The same 6 or 7 logos on the same tall signs. The same food, shipped frozen to all of them, from the same handful of factories. You can cross 1,000 miles and never once be required to know where you are. That is not an accident. That is the design, working exactly as intended. The road is efficient precisely because it has sanded off everything that ever made one place different from another. We bought 8 hours of saved time, and we paid for it with the entire roadside. But I am not going to leave you standing in a ghost town, because that is not actually where this story ends, because a road that famous does not die quietly, not forever. people came back for it. Starting in the 1990s, old road clubs and preservation groups began to fight to save whatever was left. Long stretches of the original pavement were named a historic byway. The brown historic Route 66 signs started going up where the old shields had come down. And today, and this is the good part, the part I promised you, large parts of the original road are still out there. And still drivable. You can drive original Route 66 pavement through the cornfields of Illinois, across the Ozark Hills of Missouri, over the high mesas of New Mexico, and down into the red Arizona desert. The neon is even coming back, motel by stubborn motel, relit by people who simply refuse to let it go dark. Glenrio itself is protected now, listed as a historic place. Its ghost buildings kept as a window into the whole story. A writer named Michael Wallace more than almost anyone alive to save this road, and his book about it is the one to read if you want the full story. The road he wrote about is still there, waiting. And that is the thing I most want you to take away from all of this. The interstate did not actually destroy Route 66. Not really. It just stopped sending it any traffic. And then it removed its name. And then it dared the whole country to forget. But the pavement is still in the ground. The neon is being relit. The diners that survived still cut the pie by hand. The road is out there. One exit and one slower hour away from the highway you are probably going to take instead. So, here is my suggestion. For whatever it is worth, from an old man who has driven both of these roads, sometime when you are not in a hurry, and that is the only condition, get off the interstate. Find one of those brown signs and drive a stretch of the old road on purpose. Pull into a town the fast road forgot. Buy a cup of coffee from somebody who actually lives there. Stand for a minute in front of a neon sign that has been glowing since before you were born. Because the most famous road in America is not really gone. It is just waiting, very patiently, for somebody willing to go slow. And before you do go, let me ask you this. Have you ever driven a piece of the old road yourself? Tell me down in the comments which stretch, which state, which little town the highway forgot that you found anyway. Leave it below and subscribe so the next vanished place comes and finds you. Your stories are how these roads stay on the map, even after the maps gave up on them. The country this road runs through, the real one, the strange and particular and human one, is still right there, beside the highway, hidden behind a sound wall. All you have to do is take the exit.